Okay, we are recording in Reaper.
Reaper.
Weaver.
Grim Reaper. Dream Weaver.
Is it Weaver?
Reaper. You haven't eaten today, have you?
I had a bagel.
Blood sugar a little low.
Welcome to AT Banter, the podcast where we discuss anything and everything regarding the world of assistive technology. With our hosts, Steve Barkley, Rob Minot, and Ryan Fleury. Now, let's banter.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of... What's this called? AT Banter? That's what it is, yeah.
Banter.
What, am I not here? Like, what was that?
I'm Rob Minot, and
No,
I'm
you're
joined
not.
today by...
I have a doppelganger in the studio.
His voice has changed.
No kidding.
Puberty.
All right, well, go ahead. You've taken it now. Go ahead.
Well, I think that's a perfectly good intro right there.
All right.
Let's just launch right in.
Well, I am Rob Minot.
Are you?
And, wait, no, I'm not even doing that.
I thought I was.
No, go.
All right, I am Rob Minot, and I am joined today by a Steve Barkley who looks a lot like Rob Minot used to look,
Hello.
and Ryan Fleury who looks entirely like himself.
Heidi ho.
I like this. It took a lot of pressure off me. I like this new intro.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. You want my notes? You can host the thing too.
All right, give me notes. What do we got?
There you go.
It's not like I read them before, so, you know.
Before you jump into that, though, we did get an email from Ali. I don't know if you saw it this morning.
No.
This morning?
Yeah.
No.
He's asking if we're going to get back to doing banter bits.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
a good
interesting.
question. Yeah, we haven't done any banter bits.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been a while. I mean, we could.
We just got to
There's no
figure out what the
reason.
banter bits are going to be. You know, are they going to be like our news segments? Are they going to be just all of a sudden there's a press release and we'll announce it as a banter bit?
I mean, we'll be honest. I think the only reason that we stopped doing banter bits is because we got lazy.
Absolutely.
That's really, there's really no other reason behind that. It was just, an extra recording, an extra bit of editing for us. So they kind of fell off the rails. We got distracted, but there's no reason why we couldn't do them again.
Yeah. So, Ali, in answer to your question, maybe.
Depends how much time we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of Netflix to watch. I'm watching Fargo.
Oh.
New Stranger Things, October 27th.
Oh, yes, that's exciting.
Yeah,
it is
very
exciting. Mm-hmm.
And The Tick.
Wait,
the Tick coming to Netflix?
The Tick is coming to Amazon Prime
Is it?
August something.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's exciting too. That was such a great show.
Yeah.
All of
I'm
them.
still a little weirded out that it's not Patrick Warburton in the costume, though.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pitch perfect for that role.
He totally was.
Um.
Alrighty, so what are we talking about today, Rob?
Well, today.
Wait.
What?
You're Steve. He's Rob.
Oh, don't do that.
I don't think we can keep that straight. That's just too complicated.
Way too complicated. Well, you know what? Today we don't have a guest. We are just kind of talking about different interesting articles that we've come across in the past week and our take on it. Because everybody's dying to know what we think.
And, of course, we will talk in length about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
Donald Trump Jr.
Donald Trump, oh yeah.
That's right. He's in the news.
He's the Russian confidant now.
It's every week, man, with those guys. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, we're going to spin off already.
I was going to say, go, Steve.
I heard a comedian, and I can't remember who, it might have been Trevor Noah, but he's like, who knew that Donald Trump wasn't even the worst Donald Trump?
Oh, my.
Okay, so we start talking about some of these stories.
Let's talk about some of these stories.
Steve, what do we got up first?
Well, first we've got Philips is offering a line of accessible TV and video players. The entire line of 2017 Philips brand televisions and video players now offers enhanced accessibility to allow blind and visually impaired users to control the device's functions. Adding enhanced accessibility to products entails the addition of voice guide descriptive menus, easy-to-read user interface, guide dots on remote controls, easy access to closed captioning / subtitles and secondary audio, easy access to support, and an easy way to identify these products with the help of an enhanced accessibility logo.
So my question on that was, if I'm blind, I won't see the accessibility logo.
You're right. You're right. It should be an audio logo.
That's
it
right.
Should, every time somebody walks past it, should holler out, "I'm accessible."
That's
Okay,
right.
yeah, now you're nitpicking, dude. No, okay. Well, Ryan, let's ask you. What do you think of this?
I think this is great. And I think later on in the article, it actually says the FCC are the ones who actually mandated a policy back a few years ago. So, even though Philips is finally jumping on the bandwagon of accessibility, Sony has a line of TVs as well that are running the Android TV operating system. And with them, you can install the Android screen reader TalkBack, which makes the smart TV accessible as well. And it has talking menu guides. So the more the better. I'm excited about this, and I may actually look at getting a Blu-ray player from this line.
So wait, so Sony the first ones that came out with the accessible?
I don't think they're the first. I think it's been tried before. I just don't think it's ever taken off, or it's never been really marketed.
Well, I mean, because you're right. I mean, the FCC, this is a result of an FCC mandate from last year that...
Yeah, they had to allow certain features to be accessible by December 20th, 2016. So...
Right. Anything that was only available through an on-screen menu, they mandated that it needs to be accessible.
So I'm wondering now if that's going to pertain to cable boxes, other manufacturers.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Samsung TVs.
I mean, it sounds like Philips is just kind of the first to actually create a line. I imagine if it's mandated by the FCC, all the other manufacturers are going to at some point have to fall in line with this as well.
I really hope so, because up till now, most of us who are blind or visually impaired have had to add like an Apple TV or an Amazon Fire TV to make our TVs smart and accessible, so we had access to the Netflix and the YouTubes through apps. Now just being able to buy, a Philips TV or a Blu-ray player off the shelf, come home and turn the accessibility on is huge for independents.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised actually that we haven't seen more of this, given that the deadline was December 2016. That's 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So presumably all of the TVs, Blu-ray players, DVD players that are out in the market now in the U.S. are supposed to have this feature.
Or at least newly manufactured ones.
Yeah.
So it could be that some of the other manufacturers, they're delaying their newer models maybe until...
Maybe.
It's hard to say.
But I think they'd be leaving themselves open to a lawsuit if they didn't have, if they didn't meet that deadline.
Sure. Although who knows how fixed those FCC deadlines are, right?
Yeah, true.
So they could be giving them some leeway.
Wriggle room.
So I don't know. Hopefully, within the next year, we're going to see other manufacturers start to announce these lines.
Really hope so. And, hopefully I can actually find one and possibly get one, and then maybe we can do a review later on.
But that's interesting that Sony uses the Android operating system, allowing TalkBack to be used, because that's actually an even smarter way to do it, because that way you can fulfill the mandate without having to go back to the drawing board and build in your accessibility menus at the design level.
But again, that comes back to being bolt-on accessibility. I'd rather it just come right from the manufacturer with accessibility designed from the ground up.
Yeah.
But
Ideally.
it's an option,
Ideally. So, yeah, that's great. It'd be fun you should buy one so we can play with it.
Okay.
We need a new TV. What is this? This thing's only, 70 inches?
55.
55?
It's okay, Linda. It's for the show.
We're trying to help you, Ryan.
Yeah, okay. Well, I need some cash. You can lend me some cash?
Nope.
Nope.
Never doing that again.
All right, starting a GoFundMe.
Although I hear there's a really exciting investment opportunity happening in Australia that you might be interested in.
Anything
I
to do with holograms?
Could offer you some shares in
Soon to be publicly traded company.
That's right. Woo. All right, what do we got next?
Next, we've got voice access. Voice access is a way for people with severe motor impairment to control every aspect of their phones using their voices.
Yeah, okay, so we'll step back a little bit. So voice access was announced at the last Google I/O, not this one that was just recently, but and it's still in beta. But what it does is once it's installed, you can enable it with Android's OK Google command by just saying, OK Google, turn on voice access. And then once it's on, it's always listening, and you don't have to use the OK Google command. So with voice access, all of the UI elements that are normally tap targets are actually overlaid with numbers. And so that you could just say things like open, press 1. And it would press that particular button.
Or it even said you could say open camera and tap shutter.
That's right.
And just use your voice to take a picture.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's a feature that once turned on, it would allow you to essentially use something like your phone completely hands-free. So it'd be, obviously useful for people who have, limited motor control.
Yep. Parkinson's, physical disabilities.
I just wish my phone would read my emails to me.
I just wish my phone would refresh its email.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Or text messages when I'm driving,
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
but voice access would allow you to do that. Voice access would be, you could tell it to open your text message and dictate to it your text message, and then
Yeah, but would it read
Send.
the text message to me? Because currently Google won't read a text message to me.
I bet you probably
That I
will
don't know.
once the new Google Home updates come out.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Google Home is going to allow you to send and receive calls, and I believe as well as text messages.
Oh, okay.
So if that does come to the Google Home, it should be baked into the Google Assistant, I would believe.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. I mean, because the Google Home is powered by the Google Assistant, and this all ties into the Google Assistant. So, it's sort of another step into this idea of ambient conversational interfaces that Google's working on that is only going to make things like the Google Home more powerful.
It just won't work in a crowded room.
You always give a negative spin to everything.
Can't always be positive. Got to be realistic.
No, you know what? I'm putting that in your bio.
All right.
You're the podcast curmudgeon.
There you go.
Like
Put
we've
it
got
in
these
there.
things. Google have been busting their asses trying to make this, and you're just like, well, it wouldn't work in a crowded room.
It wouldn't.
If I was on the space shuttle, it probably wouldn't work, would it?
Well, it might.
Not accessible from space.
Never know. Could be.
But it's also only in beta. I mean, I don't know. This article that we pulled this from is a little old, and it talks about voice access being baked into Android N, which was Nougat, I guess.
Yeah.
Which of course has already been released, and it's not. It's still, as of today, I checked, and it's still in beta form. So,
But it could also make its way to Android Auto as well. So
I'm sure it will. I mean, I guess my point is just that they're still working on it.
Yeah.
It's not quite available yet. It's something that's forthcoming, but it sounds like it would be pretty powerful for if somebody's in a chair, somebody who doesn't have has tremors or whatever, and being able to operate their phone smoothly with just voice would be pretty powerful.
Yeah, very cool. So,
All right, what's next?
well, next we've got the Braille Me, a $300, I assume that's US, Braille display.
yeah.
So, this is coming from a company called Innovision.
I actually looked at their website yesterday, and they do have a features link, but there was nothing listed there.
Really?
So
It's Braille display. It has no
Yeah,
features.
it's a
That's
startup.
right.
It's a startup from
Yeah.
India, I believe.
Oh, okay. So it plugs into mobile phones and computers to help the visually impaired access the internet and other digital content. It's equipped with a tool to help people write in Braille and have it appear in digital text. as well as one that converts digital text into raised bumps for reading Braille. Well, that's kind of what a Braille display does. Right?
That's right.
Oh, every Braille display does that, but this is a $300 Braille display, so it's cheaper than anything that's on the market currently, so far as I know.
Oh, absolutely.
Currently small Braille displays are $2,500 US. You could go down to like the Braille pen if anybody's selling it anymore, which was about $1,000 US.
Yeah, I did see something on Twitter the other day. I think it was from the ACB that there was an announcement made that the Orbit Braille reader is actually going to start shipping in large quantities come September.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they're finally going to be shipping that unit as well, and that was a $500 Braille
That's
display,
right. Yeah, the Orbit's even more expensive than this, but.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes this interesting, though, and Steve, you'll probably know a little bit more about this than I do, but they talk about how this unit and the Orbit is using different technology to I guess drive the Braille pins for the cells.
Yeah. So typically, up until now, the technology. Well, there's two technologies that have been historically used in Braille. One was to use a solenoid to raise a dot up and down. That never really caught on because it was pretty power intensive. So the one that has been used is piezoelectric wafers. So you've got a 3-layer wafer. You apply a voltage to one side of it. It bends up. You apply voltage to the other side. It bends down. So that raises and lowers your dots. And you've got 8 of those piezoelectric elements for each individual Braille cell, which is pricey. And typically works out to roughly $100 per cell. So this is using a different technology, and I haven't been able to look at the Orbit or at this unit, but I'm guessing that it's probably using a rotary, some sort of rotary system. So you've got a wheel with flat sides on it, and each side has different combination of Braille dots on it, and you just flip it around to whichever combo you need. So you've got on each wheel you've got combinations potentially for the various combinations of all 3 dots up, or all 3 dots down, or dot 1 up, dot 2 up, dot 1 and 2 up, dot 1 2. You've got to have every combination. I think you would need about I worked it out once, but I think because actually this is something that I conceptualized a few years ago, and when I had great hopes that we would be able to develop product, I wanted to do this as a Braille technology. So basically, you just have to figure out how many sides you need, and then you just rotate them to the position that you need them in. So I think that's what's going on with these. From the images that I've seen, it looks like maybe that's the way they're doing the Braille. But I don't know 100%. I'm not 100% sure.
So it would make sense, and so it's a lower tack, so that would explain the drop in price.
Yeah, and it would be a little slower to refresh.
And that's exactly what they're saying about both the Orbit and this device is that the Braille Me is that they are a little bit slower than conventional Braille displays because of it. But the offset in price point.
Oh, depending on the size of the display and the demand of the user, if it's a slow refresh, somebody who's a really avid Braille reader is probably not going to want it.
No.
They're going to want something that's going to give them better performance, that's going to be snappy, so that as they read they can move along quickly. There's also that British company, name is eluding me now, but they're coming out with the multi-line Braille display, and they're using, I think, a similar technology, but their refresh time is I think half a second per line, and then you've got to refresh all your lines as well, so it takes a little bit to refresh a page, but with them it's a page. It's not it's not a single line at a time.
But for somebody who's just learning Braille, or some developing countries, this is finally making Braille affordable to everybody.
Bingo.
Yeah, as far in terms of an entry level device, it's perfect.
Yep. Yeah, if you're teaching little kids, it's perfect. If they're just learning the fundamentals and you need something to work with them on the fundamentals, great.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just think about it compared to what it would cost to produce hard copy Braille. You got to buy yourself a Braille printer, which is going to cost you, $4,000 to $6,000 probably, and then you got to buy the paper, which is what, $80 for 1,000 sheets. Compared to that, a $300 Braille display looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think time will tell. Once it gets released, kind of like the Orbit. Everybody's got their deposits down, but they're still waiting to get their hands on these units. The proof's in the pudding, right? If it's successful, great. More people will flock to it. But if it's a flop, then back to the drawing board.
But does it surprise you that for 30 years it's been one type of technology that has made Braille displays so incredibly expensive, and that it's taken 30 years for someone to think of a lower tech solution?
Yeah, it does surprise me. I really thought that by now we would have much, much cheaper Braille than we have had. And I thought it would be a technological leap forward, as opposed to, maybe going to a slower, lower tech solution. But, here we are. The important thing is it makes Braille more accessible.
And from the sounds of it, I think it sounds like the first one of these that's going to hit the market is probably going to be the Orbit, if indeed it is looking to ship in September.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We should. Where did you say you read that, Ryan?
I think I saw it on Twitter. I tried to go back and find it, and I couldn't. But I swear it was on Twitter.
Because when that would make sense, because hasn't the Orbit been delayed? Like, it was supposed to be out
last fall.
Right.
Yeah.
So, although that's interesting too, it makes you wonder why the large delay there.
Hard to know. They're not saying. Nobody's really talking about that. But it'll be nice to see it out, because there's been people here in Canada who've prepaid their $50 deposit for those things, and they've been waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah, and I think once it does get released, we've got some old clients that I know have ordered one. It'd be nice to get them on the show and get their review of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'll just be nice having some options open to people that would allow them to have a Braille display that maybe they can't afford, $5,000.
All
right. Hey, Steve.
Oh, hey, Rob.
I heard that Humanware has a new product out.
Well, as a matter of fact, they have. And I love how this is written up here. Imagine that the Victor Reader Stream and the Trekker Breeze hooked up at a bar.
Who wrote that? I didn't see that. I wrote my own notes, so
I didn't.
Is this just cobbled?
No, I pulled.
blindnotalone.com? Or?
Yeah, I pulled. I don't know. I pulled it from one of the blogs that was talking about.
Oh, did you?
Okay, so
okay.
This is.
We can't take credit for this.
Yeah, no, we can't take
but
credit.
It's brilliant.
Well, but the thing I first started thinking about is, okay, Victor Reader Stream and the Trekker Breeze hook up at a bar. Well, both of them have exactly the same USB ports on their side.
Uh-oh.
One of them isn't male and one of them isn't female. They're both female. So I think this is an adopted child.
Yep. Yeah.
It's either that or the result of in vitro fertilization by a USB cable. One or the other. It's but these two did not breed on their own. That's all I'm saying. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Nope.
Anyway, so what they've done is they've basically taken all the features of the Breeze and all the features of the Stream, and they've put them into a single device, and they've harmonized some of the controls for them so that you use the same sort of navigation to do stuff with your player as you do with your GPS system.
Okay, well, we should step back for a second. Okay, so what exactly is the Trekker Breeze on its own?
Okay, so the Trekker Breeze on its own is a GPS system, a talking GPS system. It's handheld. You can put in routes, you can follow routes, you can punch in an address and it'll take you to roughly where that address is. And of course it's based on the GPS system. The Victor Stream is their talking book player, which will play virtually any talking book format on the planet, as well as music and read documents to you, text documents, that sort of stuff. So now it's all getting smushed into one. and they're actually bringing the price down below what the price for the Breeze was, because that was the more expensive of the two devices. It's going to be $699 US, and it's being released later this year. So there's a number of changes that they've made to the Trekker part of it. They're using different maps. They're using TomTom maps now, which I guess are a better map technology. I read the piece on it, but now I don't remember any of the details. What else did they do, Ryan?
They're also now using a Snapdragon processor, which a lot of cell phones are using now. So it's a lot speedier. It has 32 gigabytes of onboard storage, as well as you can use an SD card to bump that up to 256.
Ooh, that's a lot of storage.
It is. What else do I got here? Bluetooth, finally. You can use Bluetooth headphones, because you couldn't before.
Awesome.
They've also removed the microphone jack. So the headphone jack is a multi-purpose jack now. So headphone/microphone.
Okay, cool. So you can use those mainstream cell phone headset thingies?
Yep. Also has support built in. It's future-proof to support iBeacons, which is used for indoor navigation.
That's cool.
Really?
Yep. And I got all this from the Blind Bargains podcast that I listened to.
Shout out to Blind Bargains. Woo
Yep.
woo.
Hey, dudes.
And they also, there's a new system in 2018 or 2019, a GPS system called Galileo. And I don't know if you got that in the notes.
Oh, right.
No.
That's the, is that the European, the one the European Space Agency is putting up?
I'm not sure what it is,
I think
but
it is.
basically our GPS units have only been able to get us within about 10 feet or 30 meters of our destination.
Yeah, because we're using the U.S. military GPS system.
Right. And with Galileo, it's going to get us up to a foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So that's built in as well. It's already there. It'll just be enabled by an update when they come out.
Yeah, and that's the difference between knowing if you're on the right side of the street or the wrong side of the street, right?
Absolutely.
That's a pretty significant skew that they've got currently.
Well, and 10 feet, trying to find a doorknob, it could be one of 10 doors.
Well, this is the thing too, because even if you've got it down to 1 foot, it's still not going to get you to the door because of the nature of the maps.
Right.
Unless TomTom maps are different than the maps that have been traditionally used, and they actually do have every address location down to the pinpoint spot where you're supposed to be. But I believe that
Blind Bargains did say they've stripped out the TomTom. They're using TomTom, but they're actually customized TomTom maps. So they've stripped out a lot of the information and customized it.
But the way that GPS typically tells you where an address is on a block is it divides that block into percentages. So if you're going to 1010, it's going to take you 10% of the way through the 100 block.
Right.
And say you've arrived at your destination. Now the door may actually be 40 feet away.
Right.
But that's where 10% of that block is. So I don't know that 1 foot will get you directly to a door unless that is different on the TomTom maps. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
Closer the better.
Yes, indeed.
Well, now that you guys are talking about it, it sounds a lot more useful than initially I thought when I first read it. I'll admit.
Well, I don't know. Maybe were you thinking of it with the assumption that why wouldn't people just use their phone for this?
Yeah. Yep. That was part of it.
See, I always come back to, and other podcasts have said the same thing, you can use your phone to do the same sort of stuff, but the GPS is a huge battery drain. So if you all of a sudden are in an emergency situation, need to use your phone, and you can't because your battery's dead because you've been using GPS, now you're screwed.
Okay.
So I still think there's
how are you going to play Pokemon Go now?
That's right. So I still think there's a place for a dedicated device. Your phone can be a phone when you need it to be a phone, and your GPS, your stream, whatever other device you're using, is going to have much longer battery life. I think they're saying 10 to 12 hours. I think actually it was 12 to 15 hours on the stream, and 10 hours I think for GPS.
Yeah, it was significant.
Yeah. So your phone won't get that.
No, not even close.
No, and I think my other initial reaction was also the idea of pairing, the talking book player with the GPS unit, because my initial thought, I guess, was, well, I don't know how many blind people are going to be out and about and wanting to plug in and listen to a talking book while they're out, because that's dangerous. You can't, you don't want to be.
Well, maybe not while they're walking, but how about when they're on the bus or the train or?
Fair enough. Yep, that's true.
Commuting.
That's true. So, and it does, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more and having heard you guys talk about it, I mean, it does make a little bit more sense. And it's, one device. It means that it's only one device as opposed to having to have two. Like I have my talking book player and I have my GPS that I use frequently. Both of them, it doesn't make as much sense as just having one integrated unit.
Well, and you don't have to use the tracker part of it either. If you just want to use the stream part of it, you can. And having one unit and having the price come down is huge. Like the
That's
stream
true.
is like 420 Canadian. So the tracker used to be, I think,
$9.95.
$7 or $9.
Yeah, I think it was $9.95.
So you're now getting two for the price of one product, and it's much more powerful and functional.
Now, let me ask you this. Is this going to replace the current Trekker Stream or Victor Stream model? Like, are there going to be no more Victor Streams?
No, I believe they're still going to sell just the Victor Stream on its own.
But wait, is the Victor Stream on its own cheaper than this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I see. So this will be a GPS option.
Correct.
Yeah. It's actually a thicker unit than the stream currently is. It's approximately the same dimensions, but about 1.5 inches thicker from what I read.
Cool.
That's interesting. And I mean, I mean, there are actually in development. I mean, there's a lot of different mobility options that are coming. And are here. Like, we talked to Eric, who is using the IRA system as a mobility aid. There is all the stuff that's supposedly coming with the Google Lens for the Android devices that are pretty exciting, that are using new sorts of beacon technology. So could be an exciting year for this.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know. Do you think that this is technology that's eventually going to get phased out by accessibility features within smartphones, or do you see a future in this as a standalone device?
I think the biggest thing that is holding smartphones down now is the battery capacity. Once there's a new breakthrough in battery storage or battery power, then yeah, I think these devices will go away. But until then, like I said earlier, the phone can't compete on battery power like the Victor Stream or the Trekker or even the unit as a combo. So having a secondary dedicated device for its specific purpose, I think, is going to be around for a few years yet.
And have you seen what the unit looks like, Steve?
No, I haven't.
Because I'll be curious. I wonder if it looks more like a Breeze or more like a Stream. Although I guess the two devices, they do, as it is, kind of look similar.
Supposedly, it looks like a stream. All the buttons are in the same place. You use the online key to go through the different bookshelves. So you'll have your online bookshelf, which has your Daisy books, your podcasts, your uTunes radio. You press it a third time, it takes you over to the GPS section. So it looks like a stream, but it's just a little thicker.
Interesting.
Same keyboard layout. Use number 5 as the Where Am I key when you're in GPS mode.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, they don't list a date on when this is available. They just say later this year. So, we'll have to keep an eye out for it and maybe talk about it a little bit more once it's released.
Okie dokie. Well, in the meantime, we should talk about this talking laundry module.
Oh, yes. Everybody's favorite activity.
I know. Hey, Ryan.
Rob.
How excited are you?
What? Who are you now? Are you getting confused?
How excited are you about a talking laundry module?
I've actually am not that excited at all. I've already got bumps on my washer and dryer. I do the laundry. Works fine for me. So, I don't know. It'd be nice to have all these products have either a talking module or an app or something that you could sync up with your washer, dryer, microwave, and so on, and be able to tell, whether you're on small, medium, or heavy load, or warm, or cold, or hot. But really, there's only a limited number of options on each machine, so I think it's great. I didn't see a price point for it, and I think it only worked with GE machines at this point.
Yeah, no, we should step back and frame this a little bit, because what this 14-year-old has created a smart device that helps visually impaired people receive audio feedback from the washer and dryer, and the way he's done it is he's created some code and a box that plugs into the dryer, and then it will tell somebody who's using it what cycle they're on, how much time is left. And the way he's done it, though, is that he's added a bunch of JavaScript code to the service diagnostic board on the dryer. And the way he's been able to do that, of course, is that his dad is he works at GE. His dad is he's a design leader at the Innovation Hub. This isn't something that a outside third-party manufacturer has made. It's just something that this kid has made. So it's not readily available on the market or anything. But I think, I don't know, the interesting thing about this story that struck me was the fact that a 14-year-old can add a bunch of JavaScript code and build this. Mm-hmm. It seems to indicate to me that this is something that manufacturers could do, especially with smart appliances. They could do it right from the design phase.
Yep.
And just there's no reason why these appliances couldn't just do this right out of the box.
Access World is an online magazine for blind, low vision people and others as well, but they actually have a section on there called Smart Appliances. And I haven't looked at it in a long time to see if it's been updated, but there might actually be some out there that have accessibility built in. Yeah,
and I mean, it makes you wonder, why aren't manufacturers doing this?
Because they haven't been sued enough.
Well, yeah, as we've learned through from previous guests.
Yeah, unless they're mandated to do it, and the fines are hefty enough. I think once they realize that we're consumers as well, or the disabled community are consumers as well, and we've got money to spend. They're just not going to do it. But going back to our first story with Philips, they probably wouldn't have done it either if it wasn't mandated by the FCC.
No, Philips would have. They're a nice company.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, they're good people. Good people.
They are the greatest people. Please send me a free TV. 70 inches. And a mounting plate and somebody to install it.
and a level.
That's right.
I don't know. It really stood out to me that this is just something that they should be doing at the design level, and it's ridiculous that they're not
across the board, right?
Yeah.
More and more, like more so than ever before, with smart appliances, everything is there in place. Like, it would be so easy to just change some code, put in a built-in speaker, and be able to have your appliance give you audio feedback. It's all digital. I mean, there's just no excuse for it.
Yeah, and it can't be that costly to include that type of device.
And you should be able to check Facebook on it while you're doing your laundry. Because, doing laundry is boring. Boring.
Doing laundry isn't boring. You know what's boring is folding the laundry. That's what I hate.
Yeah, it's the worst. The worst part of folding laundry? Matching socks.
Yeah,
oh,
I agree.
That's the worst. Matching socks.
Yeah.
It's easy if you're me. They're either black or they're white.
No, but then you're always got mismatched. Then you're always have an odd number of socks. It's like, where the hell did the other white sock go? Now I've got to leave this orphaned.
It's true.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Life's a hardship.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Speaking of hardship, let's talk about TransLink.
Oh, yes. Okay. So this is a local story. So anyone outside the Lower Mainland, this isn't going to be all that interesting to you.
Okay, we'll make it interesting because I'm going to go on my TransLink rant.
Oh, I was going to go on a TransLink rant. Okay, we'll go to double.
How stupid is TransLink, Rob?
They are fairly stupid. In fact, yeah, I would say Dumb and Dumber level stupid.
So we have this transit system where we've got buses and we've got SkyTrain, and they've installed this.
And sorry, I should add, the SkyTrain is basically our elevated
Rapid
rail
transit.
system.
Yeah, in some places it's elevated, some places it's below ground, but for the most part it's elevated. So, yeah, SkyTrain. Originally built for the 1986 World Exposition, it has now branched out to various parts of the Vancouver Lower Mainland. So you can get out to Coquitlam, you can get out to Surrey. They're going to be expanding a line down to take people out to UBC. And there's some additional expansion planned for it. But originally, when they built it, it was based on the honor system. You went in, you bought a ticket, you get onto the train, you get off the train, you wander away, and that was that. Well, surprise, surprise, guess what? People weren't paying the fare.
No.
Some people, yeah, there were actually some people were not paying the fare. So they went, oh gosh, what could we do to actually make people pay the fare? So they created the transit police, the TransLink police force. And you would have the TransLink police force showing up, and TransLink people would be checking your tickets, make sure you had a ticket, and if you didn't have a ticket, you'd get a fine. But that was labor intensive. So what else could they possibly do? So TransLink people.
Okay, wait, hold on. I want to step in here. So yeah, they would issue the ticket. Part of the problem was once you were issued a ticket, there was no teeth to it. You could literally just not pay it. And the only system that they had to ensure that you were paying it is that they would tie it to, say, your driver's license. And so if you didn't pay your TransLink ticket, next time you went to renew your insurance, you'd be flagged, and they'd say, okay, you know what, you need to pay your $120 ticket before we will renew your license. But of course, if you're taking the SkyTrain, there's probably a good chance that you don't have a car anyways. So it didn't really affect you. So people were just not paying. They were getting tickets. They just weren't paying the fines because there was no way to enforce it.
Yeah. So back at TransLink head office, they started scratching their heads and going, what could we possibly do to make sure that people are paying their fares? I can't imagine. So a whole bunch of TransLink people flew all over the entire freaking world to look at major transit systems and ask them the deep probing question, how do you get these people to pay? And overwhelmingly, they came back with, well, we've got a freaking fare gate at the front here. Do you see that little turnstile thingy there? Yeah, you don't get past that without a ticket. And the light bulbs came on and they went, wow, how can we implement a system just like that, only make it less functional and really, really expensive? So they went out and they found one of the most expensive technologies that they could possibly come up with for this fare system. And they implemented it across SkyTrain without any regard whatsoever for people with disabilities, pretty much. Like, for example, you walk into the station now, there's a little pad, you take your paper ticket or your TransLink pass that's got a little RFID tag in it, and you tap it on the thing and you walk in. Well, what if you can't tap it? What if you can't reach it? Well, gosh, we never thought of that. So we'll leave the disability gates open on the SkyTrain so anybody with a disability in a wheelchair or something can just wheel on through. Well, guess what? People were walking on through. So obviously we've got to come up with a very expensive solution for this. So the geniuses have decided we're going to use RFID technology to make it easier. And what did they do? They installed it in Edmund Station, and they tested it in early June, and now users who need it can get a little fob that will open the gate when they come within a certain distance.
Yeah, well, and here's my problem with this. Okay, I'll give TransLink this. Okay, at least they're doing something about the problem. But they're doing it like they closed those gates a year and a half ago. And their solution for people who were unable to tap, whatever their situation was, they didn't have enough hand functionality to pull the card out and use it, or they couldn't reach. But their solution was, you know what? Call an attendant. Mm-hmm. And an attendant will come and will open the gate for you. And that was it. Like, just for a year and a half, that was their solution for anything.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
Are there attendants at every station?
Heck no. No, you'd have to call it. And I mean, even in this article that we pulled from, I believe it was the Vancouver Sun, they interview somebody who's in a chair who this impacts, and he just came right out and said, well, you know what, I don't really use the SkyTrain anymore because it's just too much of a hassle. So I bus everywhere that I need to go, and a lot of times it takes me longer to get to my destination, but it's just easier doing that. And I believe that probably most people do that. I mean, because you get to your SkyTrain station, you literally would have to sit there, call an attendant, and sit there and wait for 15 minutes for one to arrive and open the gate for you. That's insane. And it's insane that they felt that they could just wait
For
a year and a half.
For a major city like Vancouver, it's ludicrous.
Well, even to implement a system like this, where was the forethought?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Where was the consultation with disability groups? Where was the thinking? One of the things that annoys the crap out of me is TransLink is an unelected body. They are appointed, and the TransLink board gets paid very well.
Mm-hmm.
The head of TransLink gets paid a ridiculous amount of money, but they don't seem to actually provide any leadership worth mentioning, or any common sense. So why do we need these guys?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it infuriates me. It infuriates me that they closed those gates in the first place because the sort of the line of events, and I was taking the SkyTrain every day, so I sort of saw this firsthand. But they put those gates in and closed them, and then all of a sudden people with in wheelchairs and stuff were saying, hey, what's with this? I can't actually get into the station. And it was only then that they went, oh, geez, right. And then their response was, okay, you know what, we'll open the wheelchair gates. And they did that for about a month while they tried to figure out a solution. Couldn't figure out a solution. So their solution was just, well, you know what, we're going to have to close them all. And they just didn't solve the problem. And it took them a year and a half to come up with this idea. And even this idea, they're talking about, they're in the testing phase, but they're not talking about actually rolling anything out until sometime next year. So, and at that point, those gates will have been closed for over 2 years.
Craziness. And this isn't the first time that TransLink has dropped the ball on a disability-related issue either. I mean, they have a history of stupid moves. Prime example. So SkyTrain in Vancouver, the stations are similar in design. You have the train pull in. It's an open platform, and you basically stand back from the platform. Train comes along, doors open on the train. Step on the train. Train pulls away, and there's a big drop to the tracks. And also with some of the cars, there is a space between some of the cars, so there's a drop to the tracks between the cars. Well, people who are blind and visually impaired, cane users, didn't have any real indication of where the edge of the
That's right,
of the track was, because they never installed any sort of tactile line alongside the track. So it took a good number of people falling on the tracks, and in one case, I mean, there was a guy who got horrific injuries.
That's right.
From getting run over by a train when he fell onto the tracks.
And that wasn't that long ago. I feel like wasn't there in 2006, 2000?
That's when we were on Joyce Street.
Yeah.
So yeah, because he worked in the building. Anyway, so it wasn't until after, I believe, getting sued for that that they went, oh, well, we've had these tactile marking strips sitting in a warehouse for bloody years. We just never got around to installing them.
Mm-hmm.
That they finally decided, oh, hey, maybe we should install these.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What do you think,
Yeah.
Boo-Boo?
Yeah, absolutely. It just, they infuriate me. And I don't know. We're just going to go on a rant.
Well, the part that bugs me the most about them is that A, no common sense, like zilch. And B, they always seem to be going for the Cadillac solution for everything. They want to have the most expensive, bloody solution available. There are places where a cheaper option is a better option. it's not rocket science. And these guys, they're
Yeah, no, absolutely.
that's what they are.
And it goes right back to, when you are making something for the public, accessibility has to be a major part of the conversation.
And it has to be done at the beginning.
Yeah.
At this outset, from the start, you have to be taking it into consideration. You can't just Band-Aid it together later on.
It'd be
when you get complaints. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, well, if no one complains, then we won't bother with it.
It'd be interesting to find out if they actually did consult with like CNIB or other advocacy groups and then just ignored them.
I guarantee you they didn't.
Well, I know that there were groups that were trying to engage with them, and I don't know how. I don't know what their experience was or how successful they were. I mean, I don't know if Rob Sleeth is still involved in that or not, but I know he was working to try and make TransLink deal with more accessibility issues.
Right.
So, might be a good guest to have on at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and this should infuriate you too. In the article, it quotes saying that the final cost of the retrofit won't be known, but they estimate it's going to be around $5 million.
And is it already over budget?
Oh, it's way over budget. Way over budget.
And that doesn't include the price of people losing their fobs or fobs not working or, at least they're testing it first.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if that's how much it costs to make your system accessible, then that's the cost of making your system accessible. But it should have been done.
Yeah, that's what
right
it
away.
costs to retrofit your system to make it accessible.
Right. Like, what do they do in the UK? What do they do in New York for people with disabilities?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, they should travel there and find out.
They
yes.
absolutely
Because
should.
heaven
First
forbid,
class.
Heaven forbid you could pick up the phone and ask them that question. Hey, can you send me? Can you Snapchat that for me and
That's right.
send it over?
Yeah.
Just send me a picture, man.
Yeah.
What company did you work with? How much did it cost? Nah, I'd better fly there.
Yeah. First class, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And can you get me tickets to a Harry Potter musical?
Okay, so from one contentious subject to yet another one. Our last story, Steve,
right.
what is it?
Oh, geez. We're turning this into the Surly Uncle episode, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, excellent. Disability organization denounces Alec Baldwin character in new film. Okay, now this is not one I have heard anything about at all.
Oh, you'll love it.
Alex Baldwin's portrayal.
Alec.
Alec Baldwin. Okay. So this is from NBC New York. So he's playing a blind man in an upcoming film. And the Rudderman Family Foundation condemned the actor's performance as a blind man in the upcoming film Blind, according to a statement released by the organization. Alec Baldwin in Blind is just the latest example of treating disability as a costume, said Jay Rudderman, the foundation's president. Rudderman added that the term crip face could be used to describe Baldwin's portrayal, making an equivalent term to the common term blackface.
This is a crazy story.
It really is.
I mean, I don't agree with this at all.
No, and one of the notes I had made, and my phone's not working right now, but, only recently, in the past couple of years, we are seeing more and more women actually getting leading roles in movies. It's been an ongoing theme now. I think the day is going to come where we're going to see more and more people with disabilities. There was a girl with Down syndrome on Glee who was a key actor.
Yeah.
I had a list of other disabled actors as well that are out there.
Well, RJ Mitt from Breaking Bad.
Right.
He played Walter Jr. in the show.
Right.
He had CP, and he actually does have CP.
Right.
There's a show called Switched at Birth. It's a big ABC show right now that features several real deaf actors, hard of hearing and deaf actors that are playing deaf and hard hearing characters.
Born This Way is another one where they're a group of basically teens with Down syndrome,
Right.
high functioning, that Linda and I watch as well. So they're out there.
Sure. And I mean, part of the problem that I have with this is just, well, I mean, first of all, I think it's extremely inflammatory, this notion of crip face. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's
Not
you
even the
cannot
same.
put it on the same level as somebody performing in blackface. I mean, that's just crazy. And you know, the article goes on to, you know, talk about the different examples of, you know, other actors who have portrayed blind people. You know, Jamie Foxx in Ray, or
No, he was good in that.
or Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman.
Oh, he was awesome in that.
Yep.
Right. And I mean, so there's nothing wrong with an actor portraying somebody with a disability. I mean, how many, you know, you think about how many different characters have been in wheelchairs in different shows and movies that, you know, obviously aren't actually in wheelchair. I mean, if you start holding Hollywood accountable to say, you know what, if you have a disabled character in a movie, you have to cast an actually disabled person in that role, they're just going to stop creating roles for, you know, they're just going to not have disabled characters in movies because, I mean, okay, for example,
Hollywood's a business.
It's a business.
Hollywood's a business.
I mean, part of this Alec Baldwin movie, probably part of the selling feature of this movie is the fact that Alec Baldwin is in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now if they just cast some blind actor who's in it instead of the best person for that particular role.
Not many people go see it.
Do we know if they tried to cast a blind person?
Don't know.
Well, we don't, but I mean, I don't know. It sets a really weird precedent, and I don't know. I think it's taking. I think you're being a little oversensitive when it comes to this. And I mean, really, you know, in terms of the bigger conversation with people involving people with disabilities, the more television characters, movie characters with disabilities that you have, the more education opportunities for the you know, the public at large.
Well, we're slowly getting there too. Just recently, Sesame Street introduced a new character with autism.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like we're slowly getting there, but Sesame Street's been around, what, 60 years? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to not be divisive, but to and this, I think the dangerous thing about this is that it sets up a precedent of division as opposed to anything else.
Well, okay, so who have we got out there as blind characters that are in pop culture right now? We've got Daredevil.
Sure.
Is that actor blind?
Nope.
Huh. Okay, so we got this. He's not blind. Do we have any actual pop culture blind people being portrayed by somebody who's actually blind?
I don't think there ever has
Zero.
been, except maybe Ray.
Well, okay. Do you guys?
Well, no. Jeff Healey was in Roadhouse.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember a guy named Tom Sullivan in the like 70s, early 80s? He was a singer and he was kind of an actor. He was on all the talk show circuits. He was kind of a blonde guy. He was blind though, but he was a very successful singer and sort of actor.
Yeah, I don't remember him, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was totally blind and he had a fairly healthy career.
But I'm willing to bet you that there's blind actors out there in Hollywood going, give me a friggin' role.
Absolutely.
Maybe. I don't know.
And they're probably sitting there going, Alex frickin' Baldwin? Are you kidding? He's not even blind.
It's Alec Baldwin.
Whatever.
Keep calling him Alex. Is there an Alex Baldwin?
I don't know.
I don't know.
One of the brothers. Maybe there's a brother.
We'll go with Alec.
But, you know, like I go back to my previous point. Hollywood's a business. They're in it to make money. They're going to get the star that they can get so that people go to the theaters and pay the money.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
You know, you get a no-name actor, sure, the show might be a success, but it's a pretty big gamble.
Yeah, it's true. There is definitely the star draw factor to be considered, but it'd be nice to see blind actors getting a chance.
Oh, I agree.
Well, I mean, sure, absolutely. But at the same time, the best person for the right job. You know, if you have a character that's blind and you want to try to cast a blind actor in that role to give that a sense of authenticity that you wouldn't get from Alec Baldwin, I have no problem with that either. But I guess the problem is that I have with it is when you are sort of holding the studio hostage and trying to sort of give them a black eye and use the term crip face. I don't know. I think that's going too far.
Well, and I think, maybe there just hasn't been a stellar, blind actor. Michael J. Fox with Parkinson's. Tons of TV shows, tons of movies. Very successful actor with a disability. There just hasn't been really anybody that I can think of who's been blind, been cast in a blindness role in a movie or TV show.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? I mean,
he could be out there, or she could be out there.
Absolutely. But I mean, I guess, you have to kind of give, like, there's a great movie on Netflix called Hush. I don't know if you guys have heard of this movie.
No.
It's a horror movie. It's about this woman who is deaf mute, and she gets kind of trapped in her house by a killer, and the whole movie just takes place in this one setting in her house, and she's trying to deal with this killer. It's a brilliant movie, and it's almost a silent movie, because you really, as a viewer, you're sort of in her world of not being able to hear. And it's a brilliant concept. It's a brilliant movie, and it really works. The actress isn't deaf mute at all. Do we hold her accountable? Like, it doesn't. For me, it matters less about who's portraying who, and it's more important about, does this movie portray the disability properly, and does it open up a conversation and educate people about that disability? I mean, that's the bigger question.
Well, fair enough. But I'd like to say, though, good on the Rudderman Family Foundation for saying something and getting the conversation started about it, at least. Maybe you disagree with the way that they went about it, but I think it's something that's worth talking about.
Oh, sure. Okay. I will grant it that, but I think that it was unfair. Poor Alec Baldwin gets flamethrowed. Calling him this crip face. I mean, what?
Is that what people are going to start calling us now with disabilities?
That would suck.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. Just what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Well, now.
So that's it.
Is that it? That's all we got?
No happier news? We got to end on a high note.
We got to end on a high note. Okay.
I saw something. You might have to Google this, but I saw something on Facebook that Microsoft has developed an app for iOS called Seeing Eye, I think, where it's kind of like Ira. You can use your phone as a camera, and it gives you real-world information.
I have not heard that.
Yeah, I saw it this morning.
I thought we'd covered that in a previous episode.
Did we?
Yeah, because it was part of the Microsoft suite of apps or something. It was built in.
I don't remember.
Hey, Ryan.
Rob.
We stopped that.
I don't know why your name's jumping into my mind.
Because usually I say, hey, Ryan, and you say, hey, Rob, and then I ask you, where can people find us?
Hey, Ryan.
Steve.
No, I'm Rob.
Oh, okay. I'm confused.
You got an iPhone?
No.
Oh,
I do.
Do you?
I do. I got an iPhone 4 and 5C.
Oh, well. I wonder if you would be able to download and install the Microsoft Seeing AI, a free app that narrates the world around you, designed for the low vision community. This research project harnesses the power of AI to describe people, text, and objects. So you can download this, put it on your iPhone, and you can have it read short text to you. It'll read it as soon as text goes in front of the camera. It can read full documents. It provides audio guidance to capture a printed page and recognizes the text along with its original formatting.
Goodbye, KNFB reader.
It also has barcode scanning.
Excellent.
It'll give you audio beeps to help locate them, then scan them to identify products.
Cool.
It can identify people.
Wow.
Recognizes friends and describes people around you, including their emotions.
Wow.
It's got facial recognition of some sort. Scene. It's got an experimental feature to describe the scene around you, and it will identify currency as well at some point. That's not currently in there, but it's coming soon.
I might have to take a look for that.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. I wonder if they're going to come out with it for Android too. It just says for iOS right now.
I would hope so.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you go to, well, probably the easiest way to find it is just Google Microsoft Seeing AI. There's a website for it, and they've got a bunch of videos demonstrating how the various features work on it.
Cool. I will check that out, and maybe Rob can link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Hey Ryan, I was going to ask you too. Have you got Android Pay on your phone yet?
No.
Are you going to?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't know of anybody who uses Android Pay, because I just can't see if they have signs or anything like that, or is it just any machine that uses tap that works with it?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't know enough about it. Because I also have RBC Wallet, which I can use as well, which does the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Most banks have their own wallet app. Does the same thing. You just tap it. And
Yeah, I don't know. The part of that is kind of scary to me.
yeah.
They're making it a little bit too easy to spend money.
Well, pretty soon it'll just be a chip anyway, right? You're not going to have a debit card or a credit card. It's just data.
Yep.
So, I would say that we have hit the end of our rope.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this has got to be the end of the show. So,
Yeah, so ask Ryan, where can people find us?
hey, Ryan,
Steve,
where can people find us?
they can find us online at www.atbanter.com.
Fabulous. And hey, Rob,
Yeah, hey.
where else can people find us?
Well, you're asking me the email address? Because usually I have to go through the email address, so I think you need to navigate the email
Oh, do
address.
I need to do the...
You,
okay.
you do it.
So if people want to email us, they can email us at atbanterpodcast@gmail.com.
You're supposed to screw it up.
Oh, am I sorry?
That's
okay.
my shtick.
Well, that's your shtick, though.
Yeah, he's Steve now.
Yeah, I'm Steve again. You forced it. You forced it to happen. You kept complaining. Don't take it out on me.
All right, then fine. Then people can also find us on YouTube. They can find us on Twitter, and they can find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, and Instagram too?
And YouTube. Or wait, did I say YouTube already? I think I
Yeah.
already said YouTube.
You might
Okay.
have said YouTube already. It's
YouTube, YouTube.
YouTube. Okay, so where does that leave us?
That leaves us.
To wrap up.
Yep.
I think we can just wrap this up here. So, thanks for coming. Oh, one last thing before we wrap up. I was reading earlier an article about podcasts and the importance of people reviewing your podcasts online.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, and it said right in the article, it said every single time you do a podcast, you should ask your listeners to go and review your podcast on whatever platform they can review your podcast on. So you can do that on iTunes. I'm not sure.
We're on Google Play as well.
Google Play, you can review us.
We're also on Stitcher.
Stitcher. Anything else?
I forget.
Yeah, there's a few.
Whatever you're using.
Anyway,
in.
so this is our first call to arms for our listeners. Please review us. Unless you think our show sucks, in which case, shut up.
Wow.
Shut up if you know it's good for you.
Just lost half our audience, but
No, we just told half our audience to shut up. There's a difference.
Alrighty, so please get out there, review our show. And email us, Google us, call us, whatever, it's all good. So, I have been Steve Barclay.
And I have been Rob Minot.
and I've been Ryan Fleury.
See y'all.
Really, that's it. See y'all. That's your outro catchphrase. See
you don't
y'all.
Like that? Okay.
I don't know. I'm a little underwhelmed. I'll be honest.
I've been Steve Barclay. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
Have a good week, everybody. See you next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canasstech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com. Music provided by bensound.com.